Box meal, fighting food waste while providing healthy meals to those who need it. The why. First, we started looking at food waste and how prevalent of an issue it is in America. We watched a few documentaries and were able to discuss just the abundant amount of food waste. So over 40 million tons of food, which equates to about 40% of the U.S. food supply, is wasted every year. And, it's a very common practice for Americans to discard food strictly because there's a best by date that makes them uncomfortable, or it doesn't look as perfect anymore, or they just simply forgot about it and, won't be able to use it before it's done. So that's a concern. And it's not only a concern for environmental and economic reasons, but it's concerning considering the amount of people in America that are food insecure. And so how can we make those two things work together and use, combating food waste by providing food to those who need it? We also looked at the holes in the current system. So getting help can be hard. There's proof, documentation, qualification, like all these things you need to get help and to get assistance. And so applying for food stamps or receiving help from food banks can be a challenge if you lack the proper documentation or proof needed. And everyone in need of food is going to look different, right? The face of hunger is different. And so we understood that there was kind of these hoops to jump through when some people would have a hard time navigating that. Then food options are limited. So food banks, especially in lower income areas, do not have healthy options or, this variety that can be used to make meals. Rather, they're giving shelf-stable ingredients and processed foods in hopes to combat hunger, which can be a challenge. And then access is restricted. So, looking at how can a person have access to food and access to help? And if your only option is a food bank that's open 2 days a week for 8 hours at a time, that might be a real challenge if you're a working adult, or if you have a family, or if you just can't make it at those time slots. So understanding that there really should be a more accessible option, just like people who, have the privilege of going to a grocery store that's open 24/7 or at, reasonable hours. How can we give that privilege to people who are food insecure without necessarily just relying on a store model? Problem research. So this first slide is about an article from NPR, which is a woman who went to a food bank, and she's talking about her experience. And it's really kind of jarring to realize that she was handed this box of nothing that she, had a say in. She couldn't choose what was there. There was a lot of shelf-stable ingredients that frankly would be hard to make a meal out of. Macaroni, peanut butter, and pancake mix might be hard to, give a healthy dinner to your child or provide for your family. And so instead of giving people the bare minimum, instead of just saying, here's some food, make it work, how can we really make the experience of getting help more engaging and more thoughtful? And then also this kind of really woke us up to the idea that food restrictions, dietary restrictions, and dietary concerns are not really taken into account. And so, what if they were allergic to nuts, or they couldn't have, dairy products? How is that really impacted in giving people help? Then looking at food deserts. So from the Chicago Tribune, this article talks about food deserts and how Lawndale is in that position, as are many other areas across the city of Chicago and across the country. And so looking at food deserts and understanding that there's kind of two options. There's the sit and wait until a big box store comes, which that could be, that could take a long time, or there's the do something about it as a community. And so we saw this personally as, an opportunity for the community to step in, because Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Jewel, they might not be able to really put a retail location there. They might have concerns for that, considering the economic situation. And so we really wanted to understand, how can we put in something else that's not a big box store, that's not relying on them to come in and do that. And then more about food deserts. So more than just including stores and, including choice for these people that live in these areas, where there is no choice for healthy food or for food in general, how do we engage the community? How do we make that implementation successful? And this article from Food is Power discusses, offering cooking and nutrition classes, and really just kind of educating the public on what does it mean to make a healthy food choice? What does it mean to cook a meal? What does it mean to be food insecure but still feel like you're being well fed? And so at Box Meal, we really want to have a storefront and a warehouse that is open to the community, where people can come and watch, in our kitchen, some demos of the recipes in their boxes, can ask questions about the food, can volunteer, and really engage with one another. Then looking at something that we kind of think is similar to Box Meal, HelloFresh. So HelloFresh is a meal service where you go online, you pick what meals you'd be interested in, what dietary restrictions you'd have, and they send you the kit so you can make that throughout the week. And so similarly, we would have delivery as they do. We would deliver it to people's homes. They also could pick it up if they wanted to, but the delivery aspect is really helping address that accessibility issue, making sure that even if you're not available during the hours that our storefront is open, you can still get your food. We'll also be providing some amount of choice as they do. We'll be asking if you have any dietary restrictions. There won't really be an opportunity for preference because of the nature of using wasted ingredients. We kind of have to use what we have, but there will be dietary restrictions that can be taken into account. And then variety. So, something that's really alluring about HelloFresh to people is that they get to make meals they never thought of. They get to try ingredients they don't usually buy at the grocery store. And so that's a really awesome opportunity that we also want to provide to people using Box Meal. Imperfect Foods is another wonderful business model. They use foods that are not really accepted by retail locations due to a variety of concerns, but they're still perfectly healthy and wonderful to eat, and they provide those as a delivery to customers. So we will be using kind of a similar model of using the foods that are discarded or rejected by retail locations and restaurants, and then that'll kind of help us to cut down on food waste while also giving wonderful ingredients to people to fight food insecurity. And then also Misfits Market does the same thing. They provide healthy grocery items to people at affordable prices while combating the issue of food waste. And they partner with farms across the country, and that's kind of their sourcing philosophy. And so we would really want to kind of take that model into account and make sure that we have local farms and people that are giving into this, local restaurants that can give their waste, local grocery stores that can give their waste. So it can really be a community effort, and that also cuts down on some of the costs of shipping and things like that.
Next up is our audience analysis. For our idea, our audience comes from Lawndale. Lawndale is a neighborhood in Chicago with a general population of over 35,000 people. Majority of those people live in rented homes, or in other words, can only afford rented homes. About 75% live in rented homes, while the rest of Lawndale actually have home-owned houses. Which is why, as the demographic shows, that the majority of those people who live in Lawndale make less than $50,000 a year. The general area is mixed in races, and the residents are aged about 29 to 40 years old, which is considered the working age. And to further explain this, what is a family in Lawndale's? What do they have left to spend on food? And to solve this issue, I decided to do a little math. So an example is that a family who makes about $25,000 a year, you can multiply that by their majority of their household income, which is, let's say, 30%. Which will ultimately equal their disposable amount. And you can get the general idea of what they have left for food there. And you can get the idea that the bigger the family size, the less they have to spend on food. So as you increase, it'll become less for food. But with our program, we'll be able to have the people of Lawndale to sign up and have access to healthy meals for them and their family weekly. And it's just one less thing they have to worry about with expenses due to the fact they already have to pay rent consistently. But as nice as this sounds, there's obviously barriers and constraints that come with our program. As you can see in this slide, it demonstrates some issues we may come across as this program evolves. To expand on this slide, and I decided to list out more clarify solutions. Making sure we can keep up with supplies is we can make an inventory list, and then we can figure out where and when a food or like a specific type of food such as meat, vegetables is soon to run out. And if we keep an inventory list, we can keep in mind how much food we are giving out and how much food we need to restock. And to make sure we continually have volunteers, we will consistently advertise our program with our social media, websites, to keep people involved and interested in helping the people of Lawndale, and just to, in general, keep interest in our box meal program. And to resolve inspired food, we just have to keep dates in mind and how long a specific supply has, so we can consistently keep fresh food for our audience. In general, this will benefit the people of Lawndale, since the majority of family in this area usually have to pay for rent. With our program providing those families with food weekly, we even offer delivery, so they don't have to work to pick it up all the time. And that is one last thing they would have to worry about.
Stakeholders and considerations. Two companies in particular piqued our interest when it came to looking for potential stakeholders: Misfits Market and Imperfect Foods. Both share a common goal with us, which is to fight against food waste while providing people with quality, affordable food. Within the recent years, both companies have experienced a ton of success, becoming well-known names within the grocery delivery world. We would be asking these companies to donate a portion of their earnings to the production of Box Meal as a buy a box, give a box kind of promotion. And the money would go towards warehouse upkeep and expenses, packaging, paying regular employees, and fabricating our kiosks. In return, Misfits Market and Imperfect Foods would be contributing to their goal of reducing food waste, in addition to receiving positive exposure for their philanthropy. In terms of government funding, we believe we would make a lot of headway with Lawndale's alderman, Michael Scott Jr. Scott is a Lawndale native, and one of his main focuses has always been on developing job training for Lawndale's residents. Within his 2 terms of office, he's aided in the creation of the North Lawndale Employment Network, which is a community-based organization that provides financial and employment-based services and coaching to Lawndale's residents, especially to those who are unemployed or who have been previously incarcerated. Box Mail would be asking Alderman Scott for his assistance in partnering with the North Lawndale Employment Network to hire delivery drivers, chefs, packagers, and janitorial services to help run the box meal warehouse and storefront. In return, Alderman Scott will continue to fulfill his goals of providing job training to the people of Lawndale, making him a good candidate for re-election in the years to come. One of the only large-name grocery stores within the Lawndale area is an Aldi on Cermak Road. As Box Meal's current goals are focused within the improvement of the Lawndale community, it would only make sense to work alongside grocery stores nearby to keep things local. Box Meal would be asking Aldi to provide us with any food items that have passed their sell-by date, damaged goods that they don't want to sell, like, dented cans, bruised or ugly produce, and things like that to use for our meals. In return, this Aldi would be reducing the amount of food waste they produce in a way that would benefit its own community, which from a company standpoint, it would look really good for Aldi as a company in general.
Our solution for food inequity and food waste is Box Meal. It is a weekly food program which provides food insecure families with healthy meal kits. Box Meal gives people the opportunity to choose from an array of healthy meals which they can cook at home with their family. Box Meal provides a menu of healthy and fresh meal kits so that families can choose what meals they'd like to receive based on their family's needs and desires. Box Meal takes into consideration dietary needs and food restrictions. Our goal is not only to provide healthy meals to the Lawndale community, but we also want to cut down on food waste. Food waste can be directly linked to food insecurity, and that is why Box Meal sources food items that would otherwise be wasted due to surplus or other minuscule reasons. Customers can sign up for Box Meal online, either at home or at a Box Meal kiosk. Families will choose meals based on a sign-up process, which will ask them questions regarding family size and food restrictions. And they can choose the frequency of their meals within Box Meal's delivery hours. They can also choose the amount of meals per family member within Box Meal's limit of provided meals, and that limit is up to 3 meals a day per family member. About 40% of food waste first takes place on farms. The next 10% happens in manufacturing facilities, and the last 30% of food waste in America occurs in our grocery stores. Box Meal will be sourcing grocery items for meal kits from farmers who are offering wasted food through donations, local grocery stores with food waste, local farmers markets, as well as donations from other communities in Chicago. The food waste being used are food items, if not used by Box Meal or purchased in stores, that would otherwise be thrown away without considering the fact that the food still has much more shelf life. This will help meet Box Meal's goal of cutting down on food waste in America and more specifically in the Lawndale community. The food waste recovery hierarchy targets a list of ways to eliminate food waste before it has the opportunity to get to the landfill. Number 2 on that list is feeding hungry people. Box Meal is a system that will target both food waste and food inequity by providing food for hungry families. One problem that we find ourselves running into is figuring out where the food waste we plan to use is coming from. We've come up with many options, but we need to close up some of those gaps. What we've come up with are partnerships with other organizations with the philosophy of preventing food waste, just like Box Meal. Imperfect Foods and Misfits Market are 2 separate brands with the goal of saving food by finding food that can be saved. Misfits Market aims to make accessibility to healthy food affordable while simultaneously fighting food inequities and waste. They source food that is certified organic, non-GMO, or responsibly grown conventional produce they don't want to go to waste. Imperfect Foods resources sustainably sourced foods that are of high quality and value no matter their cosmetic imperfections, and this includes seafood, meat, produce, eggs, and pantry items. Our lawyers will draw up contracts and agreements that will make the process of sourcing to us feasible for these brands. Now, Box Meal's first communication with customers will take place online at a Box Meal kiosk or with a representative at Box Meal's warehouse and storefront. Kiosks can be useful for a multitude of reasons, but Box Meal will be using kiosks for customer sign-up in order to eliminate mishaps and improve consistency. Kiosks can make something like box meal a very quick and easy process to sign up for. They can also provide live reports for box meal to help track the use of meal kits in order to better help us understand the demographics in North Lawndale. They can improve customer experience by giving customers control over their own box meal orders and personal information. Kiosks provide an automated self-service process on a more consistent and accurate basis compared to filling out physical forms. It also allows box meal to be more available to those who may not have access to internet at home. And box meal kiosks can be found at our retail warehouse that will also work as a box meal storefront.
All right, and here is a little mock-up of our kiosk. It looks like the video is having a bit of a hard time playing for you, but essentially it is designed to be accessible for both people in wheelchairs and for able-bodied people to reach and type on. And then in this next slide right here, here's a little mock-up of our survey. Also looks like the video is kind of hard to show in our presentation, but essentially it includes options for different languages as well as ASL video recordings. Each slide is represented with audio as well, and then within this you're able to choose the different options, how many meals a day you plan on having for your family, how many people are in your family, and it collects information based on their preference for delivery and communication and things like that.
One major question we had was, how are we going to get food to everyone and who's going to do it? Ultimately, we decided that this is a task that should be constructed by Box Meal's employees. Our delivery drivers will drive Box Meal trucks and deliver food to our customers. However, we then asked, what if we open up this process to volunteers? Box Meal will have volunteers working alongside staff within our warehouse, but we would also like to take volunteers who'd like to use their own cars and their own gas and give them the opportunity to volunteer in this way. Volunteers will decide how frequently and for how long they'd like to deliver. This would help us push out orders at a much quicker rate, but it is not something that we have to be reliant upon, considering we do have staff for this job. Volunteers will use the Box Meal Volunteer app to sign up as a warehouse volunteer or a driver volunteer. Once signed up and approved by our volunteer department, they can begin picking up deliveries from Box Meal's warehouse. There will be a specific pickup point at the warehouse for easy pickup, and this will be made clear to driver volunteers. Imagine Amazon Flex, but for Box Meal. Delivery will only take place Monday and Friday, but customer pickup will be available every day.
Solution promotion. We feel that TikTok will be helpful in promoting Box Meal because it allows you to really engage and showcase something from a human point of view being in front of the camera. So we'll be able to show information on food waste, where we're sourcing our food from, what recipes are, in that week, our volunteers, our employees, just kind of really showing the behind the scenes of the whole Box Meal process. And then cooking demos will be happening at the storefront along with other community events, guest speakers, volunteer nights, etc. And that's all going to help to promote Box Meal because it's something that the community can see and engage with. And especially in the community of Lawndale, we really think that it would be helpful to have word of mouth and to have something that feels like it's a part of the community and it's including people.
All right, now let's take a look at our commercial. In America, there are over 38 million people fighting food insecurity. Yet, at the same time, over 40 million tons of food are discarded by Americans each year. Wouldn't it be great to address both issues of waste and need by using wasted food to bring healthy meals to individuals fighting food insecurity? Introducing Box Meal. Box Meal is a weekly food program which provides food insecure families with healthy meal kits. Using wasted food that is perfectly fine to eat, Box Meal gives in-need people the opportunity to cook healthy meals with real ingredients. Shelf-stable, processed foods are a thing of the past. Box Meal is real food, creating real meals for real people. Box Meal uses local farms and providers to fill meal kit boxes for those in need. Meals will vary depending on the season and what is available. Sign up to receive your weekly meals delivered right to your door, or pick them up at our warehouse. Box Meal's warehouse is located in Lawndale and is a community center that works to serve the people in need. Providing food is a priority, but so is engaging with the community and supporting healthy eating initiatives. Stop by to learn more information about the program, sign up to receive meal boxes at our kiosk, watch a cooking demonstration, or become a volunteer. Want to know how to grab a box yourself? Or are you interested in helping to feed the people of Lawndale? Head over to our website or stop by our warehouse for more information. Box Meal, solving food waste and insecurity one box at a time.
How does Box Meal measure success? Well, TikTok has become such a major market for businesses of all sizes, and that is something that Box Meal wants to be a part of. It is a quick and efficient medium for advertisement. Box Meal is looking for daily engagement and views to spread the word about what we do for the Lawndale community. Box Meal has a weekly goal of 200 orders. Hitting this goal on a weekly basis ensures that Box Meal team that we are cutting down on food waste as well as contributing to food equity. We also want to make sure that the food we disperse is actually improving the physical and mental health of the Lawndale community. So in every 10th box that a customer orders, they will receive a survey to help us understand if our recipes and the quality of our food is actually making a positive change in their overall health. This survey will also be sent through customer emails, and customers will be offered this survey when visiting Box Meal's storefront. Lastly, Box Meal wants to feel connected to the community of Lawndale through engagement. We want to see customers visiting the storefront, expressing that they've heard about us through the neighborhood or that they've seen us on TikTok. Whether it's delivering orders, working in the warehouse, or in the storefront, we want to see the faces of the Lawndale community in our volunteer department and working alongside us as employees.
Timing. In 3 years, we believe that we can create Box Meal and roll it out to the community. So in phase 1, it would take about 1.5 years to declare a board of directors or a leadership team, create relationships with stores and farms, including, discussing what's been successful and what hasn't been successful with companies like Misfit Market and Imperfect Foods, and then funding from the government and approval from the government for using wasted food and for the liability is going to be probably that chunk of phase 1. And then phase 2, about 1 year, sign contracts with the stores, the farms, restaurants, etc., and then building a storefront or a warehouse in Lawndale and finding property that's suitable for that. And then phase 3, about 6 months, making sure we can manage the team, including rolling out volunteers and employees, and then logistical planning, creating a website, socials, app development, the delivery process, and understanding the logistics of that, and then obviously promotion. And at the end of that, we'd be able to roll out this idea to the Lawndale community.
And then we have our future plans for Box Meal. After the first couple years of Box Meal's success, our next move would be to expand our concept beyond Lawndale. First, we would open our services to the Chicagoland area, with primary focuses landing on delivering and opening more warehouses in other food insecure counties and areas of Chicago. We'd spread our outreach to the Midwest region, and eventually we would plan to make Box Meal a national service within the United States, having multiple warehouses throughout. After that, we would like to build onto our Box Meal storefronts by adding markets and restaurants. Ideally, these would be on site of our warehouses, as they would also be utilizing the food being received from our partners. Their addition would fight against food waste even further, but would also allow food insecure families to have additional experiences with food that don't create that feeling of otherness, all while keeping things affordable. Like our meal program, there will be no need to prove that you need help in order to shop or eat there. These experiences will be open to everyone.